two circles, Dr. Director, Mr. Mehta, Dr. Sanjay Singh, whose presentation we were watching just now, our colleagues in the Department of Biotechnology, Dr. Akash Sharma, Dr. and the entire Innova team. At the outset, it gives me a personal delight to be meeting many of the old friends. I think I visited your premises over 20 years back.
Yes, sir.
And there was a block coming up at that time.
Yes, sir.
Some kind of construction going on. And I was told that I must come back here to see when it is complete. But I didn't go back. I now would look forward to that. So I'm glad that we have always shared some kind of equation, and now that makes the task easier for us to collaborate. So at the outset, I have to compliment the Department of Biotechnology, Innova, EPIU for having contributed to making this happen. And this celebration this afternoon is also a joint celebration. So sometimes we collaborate together, but we don't celebrate together. So it took us some time to learn not to work in silos. Because earlier on we were working also silos. When we came out of silos and started working together, realizing that silos could not move us beyond certain point. Then we did work, but after having completed, we didn't celebrate. And the grudge was that he's taken the ownership, he's taken, I'm glad that all of us now today jointly celebrate today. And each one of us has recognized each other's role in making this happen. Biotechnology having conducted the trials, and also having contributed to BIREC, and of course, Innova having played a very sterling role, and NITI Aayog being our knowledge partner. So each one's role is being acknowledged. And I think my first thought was that this also ushers India into a new era, and that is of preventive health care. And I think the entire credit goes to Prime Minister Modi. Also because we were inherently not made like that. We never had a temperament or a psyche or a mindset which would be amenable to preventive health care. Because we, Indian society as a whole, did not even, an average Indian would not go in for a treatment if he was afflicted by a disease. They would wait for a few days, and then something goes the other way, then they would take it as God's decree. So I think that's also partly because our socio-economic background was like that, so we could not actually enjoy the luxury of catering to preventive aspects. But Prime Minister Modi has awakened the nation. And I was telling that the other day, somebody tweets from abroad, I said, have you ever imagined that a country which had no aptitude for preventive health care is now taken up a leading role in preventive health care across the world? So this vaccine, the first of its kind, is again an evidence of that, because all of us in part of the scientific fraternity have learned not to speak without evidence. So I think this is one glaring instance of that. I think, it's taken up a leading. So it's a huge turnaround that has happened in the last few years. And I think COVID was a great learning experience. The post-COVID India has emerged stronger in more ways than one. And it's also acquainted us to a number of inherent features which we were not aware of. It helped us rediscover many of our own characteristics. For example, I was talking that the other day at the ਏਮਸ during COVID. I said, sometimes I feel guilty having been a teacher of medicine for almost more than a quarter of a century. In the last decade or so, we hardly gave any importance to the communicable disease. We were talking more about the disease which belonged to Dr. Salim's domain or my own area of endocrinology, because we thought we were now into this kind of metabolic disorders, and we have got over those times, the early decades when Dr. Paul would recall when tuberculosis and cholera were the main mortality factors in India. So we didn't actually train our residents to an extent that we were training them in the 50s. But then the best part is that overnight they got trained up. COVID stuck, and we could see our young residents. I think maximum contribution in the control of COVID has been done by the youngsters. just out of their junior residency, senior residency, never actually also, unlike earlier times, because when I was an intern, we used to have a posting in the senatorium. I mean, if I tell now, it will be laughable. I was sent to Tamaram Sanatorium, one of the world's biggest sanatorium, close to the Chennai airport. Because those days the emphasis was like that. So now that, so what I'm trying to say, coming back to what I was saying, is it made us realize the inherent resilience that our health system has. We have in our DNA the traits which were not discovered. So COVID helped us discover, and Prime Minister Modi helped us turn an adversity into virtue. The manner in which the entire program was carried forward as was being very nicely put across by Dr. Vinod Pal. And I think the best evidence of that, as Dr. Rajesh was telling, is what has happened in the last 2 days. Today we are operating from an equal platform with US. So it's a relationship not from a position of weakness, not that we look up to them. It's both ways now. Whether it's space, the other day I said now we are breaking ground in the space. So it's actually happened that way. And I feel all of us who are associated with this exercise are fortunate enough to have lived through these times, because maybe today we do not realize that this is some kind of a history in making. But a few years later, this day also, the 24th of June is going to go down in history. And at the same time, it also proves more than one thing at the time. A, of course, as was being mentioned by Dr. Pal, our journey towards Atmanirbharta. Now we are in a position, we had the capabilities, possibly we didn't have that kind of a milieu, or we didn't have that kind of patronage from the level of the policy makers, or the kind of political leadership, which fortunately we now have in the last 9 years. The prioritization is also now different from what it was till a decade ago. And therefore it has given all the scientific fraternity enough leverage and outlet to explore their potentials to the maximum extent. And I'm sure some of the best brains sitting in this room right now would bear that out, because we sometimes felt constrained going beyond that. I was saying the other day, we had aspiration, but we felt prisoners of the aspiration. So to give outlet to the aspiration, you look for a different world. Some of us migrated out, some of us were there. But here now we have that kind of a video, which is actually manifesting in more ways than one, including what has happened in the area of the vaccines. The other is that this is one of the beautiful examples of public-private participation, which has been the hallmark of this government. On the one hand, you have the whole of the government approach. On the one hand, you have whole of the government approach, as Dr. Paul was mentioning. We have the BioNet here, we have the biotechnology here, we have DPIO here. And on the other hand, because by considered view, and I'm saying this with all the conviction and my confidence, that we cannot go beyond this unless we are equal partners. It has to be an extended integration, extended synergy, and an extended holistic approach. And fortunately, even Prime Minister Modi is very supportive of it. And the best evidence of that comes when he opened up the doors of Sriharikota, which was unimaginable. And nobody had even demanded, because we had reconciled to space being an area of confidentiality, of being locked, as Dr. Sanjay Singh is saying. And he could unlock that. And today we have about 150 startups just within 3 years. So see how much of talent was waiting to happen, and energy. So I think this is signaling, this event, as I said, is symbolic of more than one thing. That the Atmanirbharta, the BPP model, the pioneering and leading role that India is going to play as a preventive healthcare leader, and overall, it also ensures for India a global role and a global player. The manner in which the agreements happened yesterday, also the space with semiconductors, and so we have actually assumed that, because now we are ready to live up to global parameters, to accept global challenges and to meet them. And the trials, as Sanjay Singh was mentioning that it will be easier to work when we have common goals. But I think we would also like to have a further wider integration when we do the clinical trials. And I have started that experiment to an extent that we have about 37 institutes in CSIR. Similarly, we have biotechnology. There are a lot many things common between what is happening in the Department of Biotechnology and happening in certain institutes of CSIR. Because some of the institutes are actually dedicated to biotechnology, others to aromatic experiments, because each of the institutes has its own domain. So I think we could integrate with that. And also I had initiated an experiment at two of the cities where we could actually also bring on the same platform, which I refer to as extra scientific integration, extra medical integration. That then could also involve IITs and IIMs. Because sometimes it sounds absurd, but it has a tremendous meaning. We learned in COVID, the ventilators were being developed by IIT Kanpur and trials being done here. And sometimes the aims also being brought into the loop. And IIM, because we need to do market mapping and the market dynamics to be studied before we go in for startups and new projects. So I think in the years to come, times to come, we could look forward to that. Dr. Sanjay Singh was mentioning the larger pool of the vaccines, the ambitious program to develop vaccines for tuberculosis, malaria, and the other diseases. I think one advantage we have in that sense that we have a huge resource pool. Just a few years back, we used to get at ईएमस Delhi interns from UK. I think that stopped a few years ago. And also because even in the pre-independence times, many of the researchers from Britain came to India to conduct their experiments and projects on tropical disease because they didn't have much of a resource pool there. If you go to the General Hospital, Madras, you'll still find a plate there, Donovan. Dr. Donovan used to sit in this lab and then became the famous Donovan body. So we have that advantage. Now it's up to us how much, because this is something which others don't have. So we have a huge pool. The other day there was what kind of diseases you initiate with. I said you name the disease and I have one. So we are also now post-COVID also very much into the post-COVID diseases as we were not Indian product. And non-communicable we were already adopted. In fact, when the non-communicable disease started happening in late 80s, mid-80s, somebody has announced that now we have entered into an era of civilization. Because these are the diseases of civilization. We will still have poor hygiene. So we are now having a combination of both ends of the society and the world as a whole. So we have that, but this could be also used as a dividend rather than a disadvantage. And lastly, I think we need to have now a good data. Because out of this also, follow up also. Indian data for Indian governments, for Indian subjects. That is something, and of course we could do a larger sharing of sources. What is happening here. We could come on later on with the common data as well. Picking up from what Rajesh was saying of the biotech, I think this is a fact which is rather remain understated. But with a huge value is going to be realized in 5 years from now. Biotechnology is going to be the major contributor to India's economy in the next 20 years. We have been talking about Amritkal, and it's true that we would be reaching that pedestal, but have we ever thought scientifically where would that addition come? Where would that supplementation come? Because all the other resources have been exhausted. The biotechnology processes were not put to optimum use. So when we talk about biotechnology, it's not limited only to vaccines. Even your agriculture sector is making a huge utility of the biotechnology techniques. Whether it's the fruits and the vegetables, the horticulture, you are doubling the production of the produce, you are improving the quality of milk. In the dairy sector, we have startups where you are improving the quality of milk, increasing the quantity of milk, sometimes seeking to improve the quality of the progeny. So all this is happening so much. Unfortunately, the awareness is lacking among the stakeholders and the society. So there, I think we need to work harder. That's why I'm glad we have media also today, because media has to also be a partner of this integrated exercise. You don't have to look at us only as reporters. You have to be looking at us as partners, because that is something which is not actually realized with those who could actually make use of it. So similarly, in the oceans, now we have also launched deep sea mission. The Prime Minister spoke twice about it on the Independence Day, both 2021-22. And we have the longest coast, 7,500 kilometers. And all those minerals and metals which come from below, the biodiversity, are going to be the domain of Dr. Rajesh Gokhale. Unfortunately, people look at him as some kind of a biologist working only in a dingy, dark room, vaccine, spread microscope. But they don't know the domain is so big. And I think the irony is that this was an exclusive asset, always, biotechnology. We have a huge Himalayan range which others don't have. We have at least 5-6 states located in the lap of Himalayas, beginning from Himachal, Uttarakhand. We have about 10-12 states along the seabank which others don't have. All this is biotechnology. This is going to add value to the... But what is heartening now, at least for the time being, is that before 2014, we just had 50 biotech startups. Can you imagine? It is sometimes laughable, it's embarrassing also to say. A country as big as India was having only 50 registered biotech startups. Today it's gone up to almost 6,000, and I think it's going up. And last year a survey was done among the class 12 boys, and they put biotechnology at number 4 or 5 in the preference. Earlier on they didn't know. So I think this is one of the best times happening for India's scientific fraternity. Also one of the best times happening for India's medical fraternity, in the sense that for the first time, the indigenous systems of medicine have been accepted as a part of the holistic approach. Because earlier on, I know even in allopathy, we had a certain amount of contempt or cynicism over, combining yoga and other things. But COVID taught us a lesson. So we were receiving frantic calls, even from some of my colleagues settled abroad, who always looked at all these indigenous methods with a lot of contempt, would make frantic calls to ask whether there was a booster in a homeopathy or allopathy. In spite of the fact that way back, I think one of the first studies that we did in our domain in diabetes was in 1997, Dr. B.K. Sahay from Hyderabad, where we could actually identify yogasans like Mayurasana, Bhujangasana, Paschimottanasana, Nandamasekarasana, which could reduce the insulin doses or even the oral therapy drugs, or could act as good adjuvants. But in spite of that, the world was not ready to accept. They thought we had done that simply to get the paper publishable. So I'm glad that this is also one of the good outcomes happened. And therefore, as I said, the green trade is one of the best times happening for India, one of the best times happening for the Indian scientific fraternity. And lucky would be those who live on to see the better times happening. Thank you.